I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Smack-a-macabre, it's time for the only news that matters. And Paul McCartney said he always knew that Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band movie was going to fail. Released in 1978, the production starred the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton and inflicted significant damage to both of their careers. In a new episode of his Paul McCartney A Life in Lyrics podcast, the former Beatle explained he was certain it would flop because the band's songwriting was inspired by radio plays rather than TV or movies. He said, "You just get into it. You can see the characters as if you're in a room with them. And for the imagination, radio was great. And as I met friends like John Lennon and George Harrison, we all harked back to that. It was very much our period. We grew up without television. What I love is you get your own picture. This is why when they come to film Sgt. Pepper's with the Bee Gees, I said, this is never going to work because everyone has their own image from Sgt. Pepper, the album. And so if you select one image, that's never going to be enough because your vision is different from mine. I often think with my audience, every single person in those 40,000 people is having a different experience. I'm singing this song, someone thinks it's sad, someone thinks it's dramatic, someone thinks it's funny, and I'm fascinated by that idea that everyone's perspective is completely different. This episode was based around Penny Lane, which was originally planned to appear on Sgt. Pepper's before being released as a standalone single instead. McCartney explained, "It was a place that featured very much in my life and in John's life. It was near a church. A lot of stuff happened there. I used the bus terminus a lot to go to John's house. For instance, the scenery, it's quite accurate. And the nice thing, in writing, John knew exactly what I was talking about." Adding that he was proud of the way certain lines just fell out, he continued, "It all happened, the fire station is a bit further away, but like any good play, you put it all in one place. It's kind of filmic. It's a little play." Referring to the lines about a girl selling puppies on a tray, an annual British tradition of remembering those who died in wartime or in military service. McCartney noted, "Funny enough, a lot of Americans thought she's selling puppies. It's rather interesting image, a tray full of puppies." All right. I guess I shouldn't have read the last part, right? Doesn't matter. Whatever. All right, Paul McCartney. Yeah, man. The Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band movie was terrible. I always say the 70s were the best. I'm a 70s child. You know, half 70s, half 80s. Like to me, the 70s were the greatest. Everything in the 70s ruled. But there are exceptions. And Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is definitely an exception. There was a lot of hype behind it. I went to the theater to see it, and I hated it. You know, looking back on it now, yeah, I liked, even back then, I liked Aerosmith's version of Come Together. That was the first version I heard before the Abbey Road Beatles version. In 1978, the first version of Come Together I heard was from Aerosmith. And I absolutely loved it. That timeline's everything. I still put it above the Beatles version. Though I do love the Beatles version. Don't get it twisted and let's cut the deck. But later on, a performance that I think is just as good as Aerosmith's, and it's the only good performance on there other than Aerosmith, was Got to Get You Into My Life by Earth, Wind and Fire. I thought that was fire. I thought that was amazing. 2 parts, but man, did I feel bad for Alice Cooper doing Because, and Steve Martin doing Maxwell Silver Hammer. It was just all ridiculous stuff, and the Beatles and Peter Frampton, who I dig them both, but I didn't like them doing those Beatles songs. It just did not sit right with me. And yeah, that killed their career. When I was a little kid, there was a lot of bashing for the Bee Gees. Not so much Peter Frampton, I think, till after this movie. That's when it got really... I remember there was kind of like a backlash with his follow-up to the live album with the song I'm In You. I remember a lot of people complaining about that. I never heard that full album, but Frampton Comes Alive is awesome. It's a must-have. And yeah, this movie killed their career. And it killed the career of the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton. I mean, there was a big backlash on the Bee Gees. The Beatles, they're the greatest. They are the GOAT. I mean, you may not agree, all you people that hate the Beatles and so on, but I'm just talking on my point of view. I think they are the greatest band ever. And it's weird because I always say Black Sabbath and Merciful Fate are my favorite bands. And they are. They're my favorite bands. But to me, the Beatles are the greatest band. They did stuff no other band ever did. They changed the world like no other band ever did. As hard as U2 and Bono tried, they didn't do jack squat, where the Beatles did it effortlessly. They didn't even mean to change the world, but they were that awesome that they just blew everybody's mind, and people grew their hair. The album format was Sgt. Pepper. They were only recording for 7 years. And look at from Please Please Me to Abbey Road. What growth in just 7 years. Now bands take about 7 years to release an album that sounds like the last one. I personally believe the Beatles will always be the greatest band in my world. And is it in your world? Leave your comments below. If you love the Beatles, leave your comments below. If you hate the Beatles, leave your comments below. I don't care. Just let it all out. Let that hatred out. Let it flow out like it flows out of me when I talk about Sammy Hagar. But I do want to say to all you people that hate the Beatles, I really hope there's a band out there that makes you as happy as the Beatles make me every time I listen to them. Because if you got a band that makes you happy like that, then it's all good. Thank you all for watching, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Ring the little notification bell, like the video, and please leave comments below because it's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty, listen to Black Sabbath, and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.